day.
States could have the experience of being the president's best friend.
TV tycoons Linda Bloodsworth Thomason and Harry Thomason, longtime friends of President Clinton, and two of the central figures in the scandal at the White House Travel Office. Good morning, America. I'm Joan London.
And I'm Charles Gibson. Good to have you with us on this Wednesday, May 26th. For the first time since this controversy took flight, if you will allow me to use that phrase, the Thomasons sit down in Washington for an exclusive interview to tell their side of the story and to answer allegations of influence and cronyism. And so this morning we'll devote our first half hour to the conversation with the Thomasons, who speak with great candor and with great humor as well. Spencer, the weather?
Well, let's try to put some humor into the weather. Charlie, the western states already benefiting from a wet winter are now under a stormy spring weather pattern. Nearly 1.25 inches of rainfall yesterday at Redding, California, and more is on the way today. We'll have that weather report coming up a little bit later. Joan?
All right, also ahead, our medical editor, Dr. Tim Johnson, with some new studies about not treating prostate cancer. And then we'll have some tips on how to safeguard your personal identification number, your PIN number, on your ATM card. Right now, though, Morton Dean has all the news of the day. Mort?
Thank you, Joan, and good morning, everyone. It's the economy. President Clinton tried very hard yesterday to keep his eye and the country's on his economic program. He especially tried to get the spotlight away from that controversy over the White House Travel Office. ABC's Ann Compton reports that Mr. Clinton had some success, but only on one of those efforts.
Morton, the president is trying to do a little damage control here. On one side, it's the economy. He has worked out an agreement, he thinks, with House Democrats for a kind of, it's not a cap on entitlements, but it's an annual review so that if spending on such programs as Medicare go way out through the roof, that he will have a way to control it. That is about the only area in which he's having some success on the damage control. He began his work yesterday.
The president's priority was keeping Democrats on board for Thursday's scheduled budget vote on higher taxes and spending cuts. He was ready to accept a compromise to make conservatives happy, not a cap, but an annual review of entitlement benefits to make sure programs like Medicare don't push the deficit higher.
This is the most important vote all of us are going to cast. His plan is the only game in town. The bipartisan alternative doesn't have the votes.
The buck on the other hot issue, the travel office, appeared to have stopped just short of the Oval Office, on the desk of Chief of Staff Mac McClarty.
He's worked on it quite a bit today, and he's going to make a report to me, and then we will take the appropriate steps.
That means McClarty will be in charge of reviewing his own handling of the operation. And spokesman George Stephanopoulos announced a sharp reversal of policy. 5 of the 7 travel office employees are no longer fired, but are on administrative leave with pay because they did not handle the money that Stephanopoulos said had been mismanaged.
And to top it all off, the White House says that it will never again contact the FBI without first going through Attorney General Janet Reno. It was a statement that went something along the lines of, "We have done nothing wrong and we'll never do it again." Morton?
And will that travel office be issuing a one-way ticket to Arkansas to the Chief of Staff? Is his job in jeopardy?
I don't believe so. Mac McClarty is a close childhood kindergarten friend of the president's and has been kind of handed the bag on this travel office situation. And, of course, he's also been handed the investigation of it.
And, Ann, in a word, does the president have the votes for his economic program yet?
It would appear that the president has gone just far enough in a compromise on spending that he'll probably get it through the House. The big problem is the Senate. And while a number of members of Congress were urging him to make a nationwide address to the people of the America, telling them what's at stake in this package, it's not just higher taxes, it's a lot of spending cuts too. He may save that ammunition for the Senate vote.
Thank you, Ann. Ann Compton at the White House. Good morning, America. We'll have more on the controversy at the White House Travel Office in a few moments. The guests will be the 2 friends of the president, the TV producers Harry and Linda Bloodworth Thomason. The UN Security Council has voted to set up the first war crimes tribunal since the end of World War II, a tribunal for alleged war criminals in what was Yugoslavia. The resolution was approved unanimously last night, but there's no mention of how any suspects are to be taken into custody. In Brussels, NATO defense ministers say they're ready to back UN efforts to end the war in Bosnia, but they're hesitant on the new policy of containment the allies announced over the weekend. NATO says any new undertaking needs to be more clearly defined. A protest in Germany. Protesters surrounded the German parliament this morning as its members met to rewrite a law that has allowed an almost unrestricted flow of political refugees to enter Germany. ABC's Jim Bitterman reports from Bonn.
German legislators had to travel by helicopter and by boat to get to this morning's parliamentary session. But those who blockaded government offices, hoping to disrupt a debate over tightening the nation's asylum laws, did not succeed. Thousands of police were mobilized to ensure the assembly could proceed undeterred with consideration of a law which will make it harder for refugees to take up temporary residence here. A top member of Chancellor Kohl's Christian Democratic Party said Germany has done enough, pointing out that the country has accepted 300,000 refugees from the former Yugoslavia alone. They are among nearly 1 million others who fled here since the collapse of the East Bloc. The country's liberal law on asylum, written in a climate of guilt after World War II, guarantees that anyone who arrives inside German borders and claims to be politically persecuted has the right to stay until their claims can be evaluated. The exploding numbers of those seeking asylum, 440,000 arrived last year alone, have overwhelmed the system and created camps of refugees waiting for their hearings. What's more, their presence has fueled the rise of the extreme right, which has led violent attacks against refugee centers across the country. It's taken time for the mainstream politicians to recognize exactly how irritating the asylum issue is to average Germans. But now it seems all but certain that the parliament will vote to tighten the asylum laws, despite today's protests. Jim Bitterman, ABC News, Bonn.
Practice makes perfect, part 2. Yesterday at this time, we had a story about a skydiver, one skydiver. Today we have a story about 39 skydivers. It took them 18 tries to do this, to break a world record for what's called parachute stacking. It was a thing of beauty performed high above the French Alps. The 39 new record holders are French. The 38 old record holders were American. And again, the magnificence of it all, the artistry, the precision, the ballet, was very reminiscent of Joan, bungee jumping in New Zealand.
You have now given me something new to try.
Yeah, but next time she'll take along 38 of her best friends.
I did a swan dive. I got 9.7 on that for form.
Next time she'll take along 38 of her best friends.
Yes,
right.
gotcha.
Okay.
I gotcha. You can take them all to the weather map.
Here we go, Joan. Let's go on over and take a look. Daring look at today's weather. You can see.
Long way from Hope, Arkansas to Hollywood, but since becoming president, Bill Clinton has become fairly comfortable in the company of stars. Too comfortable, his critics are saying, too close to the Hollywood elite. The president's guides to Hollywood have been two fellow Southerners, longtime friends of the Clintons, the creators of the sitcom Designing Women, Harry Thomason and his wife, Linda Bloodworth Thomason. In fact, it was Harry Thomason who recommended the barber who gave the president that recent haircut reputed to have cost $200. It was also Harry Thomason, with a financial interest in a travel company, who wrote a memo suggesting the White House revamp its travel office. Harry Thomason and Linda Bloodworth Thomason wanted to give their side of these recent controversies, and they did so last night in an exclusive interview with Good Morning America, conducted by ABC News correspondent Jim Wooten. And Jim started by asking how they got involved in the travel office uproar.
I mean, I just called to the White House's attention rather galling and outrageous practice of a government office that didn't want to consider companies that wanted to do business with them. Not do business with them, but just consider them. And the popularity of the office is not relevant. I mean, there are a lot of popular malefactors, and it just seemed to me that it was something I should bring to the attention of the White House, because all of my friends in the charter business were saying, we can't talk to these people, we can't do business with them. Is that the way that government is supposed to work? And I didn't think it was.
Did you stand to gain financially from this?
No, I didn't. I invested some money in a man who honored me at the time by saying, you're the first investor and I want to use the T from your name as part of the name. I've never been to the office. I don't know where the office is. I've never participated. And he served as, that company served as the point person in the campaign. They wrote the contracts and so forth, and they worked with the charter people. So after the election, the 9 companies came to him, some of them did, and said, can you tell us how we can do business with the White House? And he said, I'll write a paper on how you do this. And he called the White House, and that's where this started.
And you
the
invested
reception.
$25,000. Right. I would like to say one thing, Jim, and I I hope it's kind of hard to talk about your salary, so I don't want to appear immodest. Harry and I know what it is to be underpaid because we're ex-school teachers, so we also know what it is to be overpaid. We're lucky enough to be in an industry that grossly overpays the people at the top. We make a six-figure salary weekly, and I think it would be pretty ludicrous for my husband, who makes 6 figures a week, if he did have a charter airplane company, which he doesn't, and if he did have planes which seated more than 8 people, which he doesn't, to rub his hands gleefully together and to say, ooh, I'm gonna like take my 6-figure salary a week and fly off to Washington and see if I can't get those 7 little guys out of that travel office in the White House. It's sort of the equivalent of taking over a lemonade stand.
You've said that the press always creates a gathering of stereotypes for every administration, a sort of Lady Macbeth and a sort of a crazy aunt in the basement and some sleazy businessman and a cast of corrupt Hollywood connections. Is that really true? Are we that hidebound to these sitcom cliches, or is there more to this than that, Linda?
Well, it's certainly been true in our case. This has been the most bizarre experience of our lives. I wish everyone in the United States could have the experience of being the president's best friend. I'm sure that Burt Lance and B.B. Rebozo and Alfred Bloomingdale and a long line of people could tell you about their negative experiences. We have, you know, as I said, we're from small towns in Arkansas and Missouri. I think that we are good, decent, hardworking people. I think our lives speak for themselves. I mean, Harry grew up in this little town. He, as I said in USA Today, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke. We don't fool around on each other. We honor our family and our friends. We give away most of the money that we make. And I think we're good citizens. And so we just don't want to concede slanderous characterizations about us, you know, without refuting them. I mean, we're not going to stand on every street corner, but we're also not just going to leave town with our tail tucked between our legs because we feel we've done a good job in the campaign and a good job for the administration. And we're not part of the administration, but, you know, we are American citizens.
Well, all right, granted that everything you say is true. I mean, I do wonder if you want to be classed with Alfred Bloomingdale and B.B. Rebozo.
Well, that's my point. That's my point, Jim. Let me tell you what happened to us. From the first time that Bill Clinton became president, the first day, really, the inauguration day, we have been characterized across the country in editorials as the president's sleazy, immoral friends. I have little editorials from small newspapers in Nebraska. Well, columnists, Mike Royko, columnists talking about us being the president's sleazy, immoral friends who would lie for the president. And these are strange characterizations of us, we think. And, you know, articles were written about people feared we might bring our obnoxious presence to Washington. And Harry came here and worked real hard on the inauguration and ended up with our picture in Newsweek and it said, go home underneath. And my little nephew Ben said, Aunt Linda, why did they say go home? Did you do something wrong? And I said, no, I can't explain it.
Jim, I would like to say that was good advice. we
but I'm saying these are strange things to have happen to you. And while, you know, we can take our licks with the best of them, we just wanted to say that they seemed to be searching for a crime for us, and they finally found one that had a face on it. It emerged in this travel office thing at the White House, and it's just a very scurrilous charge, and we don't accept it.
Well, in addition to the privilege of being the president's best friend, among the president's best friends, you have a White House office.
Oh, well, I would certainly like to clear up that. That's another erroneous impression that I read.
But, Harry, I called this afternoon, and I said, may I have Mr. Thomason's office?
Well, they know where he is.
I'm so infamous now that they certainly know where I am. But what I've been doing here, the inauguration was terribly successful. And it created a lot of paperwork, and the archivist wanted us to write the archives of the inauguration so that the next inauguration will have that layer of paper like we had from the Bush inauguration to go on. So I've been here for the last 10 days or so. We've been trying to wind up inauguration business, and we probably have about another 30 to 45 days work that I'll be in and out. I also read that I had a permanent pass that allowed me free roaming the residence and everywhere. Gosh, I've got a temporary pass that has to be renewed every 30 days or so and will only get me into the White House. And besides, good manners would keep me from going into the residence even if I had a pass to do so.
And we'll have more of our conversation with Linda Bloodworth-Thomason and Harry Thomason when Good Morning America continues. It is now 16 minutes after the hour. Close friends of Bill and Hillary Clinton, and at the center of the recent storm over the president's haircut, reputed, as I said, to cost $200, and the shakeup in the White House travel office. Jim Wooten asked the Thomasons how they think the White House has handled the controversies.
Well, I think the White House has handled it like any probably new administration. They've made some mistakes. They don't know how Washington works, and I must say that I'm disappointed to learn a lot of the ways Washington works, and so I'm sure they'll improve on that. I tell you, President Clinton, one thing he wants to do is make this work. He cares about people. He wants to do things to help people, and he will find a way.
Linda, tell me about the haircut. What do you think about the haircut?
Well, I kind of think, being a writer myself, and I'm also an ex-journalist, that I think Washington has a lot of what I call graffiti writers. They just basically, particularly in the Washington press corps, they just stereotype people. Oh, you'll play the bimbo, you'll be the bozo, you know, you'll be the errant relative, you'll be the sleazeball.
Wait a moment.
And
wait.
Yes.
Wait. Here's a man who ran for president of the United States against the president, incumbent president, by saying that this president was out of touch with the blue-collar working-class people of America.
Yes.
You know, I'd like to take that one.
Okay.
And here's a president who spends $200 on a haircut at LAX and closes down the airport for a while.
Okay, well, let me comment on that.
How's that
well,
work?
What I'm saying is, I think there's a lot of disinformation out there. These graffiti writers, no matter what you say to them, it's just like they keep putting Hollywood in front of our name. It's the same thing as the haircut. You're a Hollywood producer. No, we're not. We're from Arkansas. Our home's in Arkansas. Our family and friends are there. We just go where the work is. But yet they keep saying, you're a Hollywood producer. It's some sort of incestuous, insane asylum where they just keep saying the same things. Same thing with the haircut. The other day they had a White House briefing session, and I believe there were 104 questions about the haircut and the travel office and 3 on Bosnia. That seems very strange to me. And I think that the haircut has just been very misdefined. This Christoph connection, for example, Christoph has never cut our hair. This is a very fine man who happens to work on one of our shows. And during the campaign, Mrs. Clinton needed her haircut, and we said, oh, Christoph, would you go cut Hillary Clinton's hair? He said, sure. The president has no idea how much Christoph charges. The president would go to Haircuts or Us. I'm sure he's cut his own hair before. He would be happy getting his haircut anywhere. I'm sure that in LA he said, hey, I need a haircut. And Christoph came to the airport because he was coming in from San Francisco.
I did call and ask about that, and Christoph came into the airport. He was on a flight inbound, and they said, great, he can just walk on Air Force One and cut the hair. So I called Christoph, and he said, yes, I walked on. I cut his hair, and it took me exactly 15 minutes. There were some important Democrats on, and then I left, they were still there, and I went on my way.
But why does that make the president no longer a populist? This just seems so insane to me. I mean, this is a Rhodes Scholar. Obviously, he was given the wrong information. Do you think if someone had said to the President of the United States, oh, Mr. President, planes are going to circle while you sit here like some big fool getting your bouffant clipped, let's do it, okay? 45 minutes delay air traffic. Do you think that Bill Clinton, a Rhodes Scholar, would say, hey, let's tie up air traffic and do this? That did not happen. Obviously, the president got the wrong information. Of course he wouldn't tie up air traffic. That's ludicrous.
That there was no one there to say to him,
well, obviously he got misinformation. You'll have to ask
this.
the Secret Service, whoever was involved. We weren't there.
Yeah,
but Christoph is not our hairdresser. You know, we're not from Hollywood. We're very grateful to the entertainment industry for the money we've made in it, but we are Arkansans and Missourians, and that's who we are.
And you know, the tragic thing is, Christoph is Belgium, and he just thinks it's so wonderful becoming an American and everything that he would do anything.
Well, I think
it's not a $200 haircut, by the way. We did check on that. I don't know. I know that Christoph has said that he wants to be competitive in Washington. If anybody else wants the haircut, and the haircut in Washington is $10, he'll charge $8.
$8, it's not a bad price. Our thanks to the Thomasons, speaking with Jim Wooten last night in Washington. The Thomasons, as you know, producers of the successful series Designing Women, Hearts of Fire, Evening Shade. They also produced the movie that was at the centerpiece of the Clinton campaign, Man from Hope. And we thank them for joining us. Good Morning America will continue 23 after the hour.
Pending an investigation. Looking at just about 29 minutes before the hour, here's Mark with a quick check on this morning's weather. Good morning.
Good morning. This weather report is sponsored by new aspirin-free Bayer Select. Put the health...
3 of our continuing soap opera about President Clinton's health care program. Here once again, Robert Krulwich. Good morning.
Good morning.
Have posed a threat to the 87,000 money machines in the country. And in this half hour, we will hear from an expert on ATM machines who will tell us how to safeguard our personal identification numbers. Right now, the Morton Dean has the news for us. Morton?
Thanks, Joan. There's nothing funny going on here. Those were President Clinton's words as he repeatedly said he does not know all the details about the White House Travel Office affair. The latest twist, the White House says 5 of the 7 travel staff members it said were fired last week are still on the payroll. They'll remain on paid leave until the investigation of the travel office is completed. The White House admits it's made mistakes and an internal investigation is underway. It admits one mistake was the way the FBI became involved in the controversy. Attorney General Janet Reno acknowledged that she was not consulted when the FBI was asked to investigate the travel office and to issue a press release last week. Reno said she told the White House that it should approach her or her top aides to request FBI involvement in the future. The White House agreed to do just that.
Since the White House shares the Attorney General's desire to avoid any such appearance of impropriety, it has assured the Attorney General that such contacts with the FBI in the future respecting matters of internal White House security will be made initially through the Justice Department as she requested.
Some better news for the president this morning. His economic plan appears to stand a better chance of being approved by the House tomorrow. ABC's Jackie Judd reports Mr. Clinton seems to have helped himself by considering a compromise.
Amid reports that the president's budget might lose in the House, the White House summoned many Democrats to a kind of sales meeting with Mr. Clinton. Afterwards, the House leadership said the president needs to marshal public support as well and should go on television on the eve of the House vote.
I think it would be useful and helpful if he did, and I hope he does.
But in a bid to make that kind of 11th-hour effort unnecessary, the White House has come around to the idea of compromising with those Democrats who want a guarantee that spending on entitlement programs such as Medicare will be brought under control.
We're working on an entitlements cap compromise that will bring a majority of the conservative and moderates in our caucus.
And by late yesterday, the House leadership said the head count was looking better for the president.
I'm quite confident that the House will deliver the votes on Thursday for the president and that we'll go into the memorial recess with a lot of momentum.
Leaders say in recent days the president finally helped his own cause by persuading skeptical House Democrats that he is as interested in deficit reduction as they are. Jackie Judd, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
And finally, 6 more. For the 3rd time in a week, the birth of sextuplets has been reported. The latest delivery is in Indianapolis. The 6 children were delivered 9 weeks early. Becky and Keith Dilley said they wanted a big family, and they've been waiting for 7 years to get it. Now they've got it. The new mom, dad, and their 6 babies, 4 boys and 2 girls, are all doing okay. Before last week, in the arrivals in England and Argentina, there were only 6 sets of sextuplets in the world. And that's the news. And here's Spencer. Were you an only child, Spencer?
No, I'm the older of 2, 4 years older than my younger brother, Luttrell, who lives in Santa Monica. Good morning, bro.
Long-lasting curls. It's Nexus hair. I used to have damaged hair. Then I fixed it with Carafix. Nexus Carafix.
Carafix Cream Reconstructor makes damaged hair silky and strong.
From damaged to beautiful. It's Nexus hair.
You know, a lot of people think you have to be a pro to shop at Sherwin-Williams. Actually, you just have to want to paint like one. That's why they're having a do-it-yourself sale.
Their best-selling A100 exterior flat is only $13.99, and Classic 99 interior flat is just $12.99.
It ends June 26th. So if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you better get going.
You and your family are invited to experience an all-new fairy tale classic, Happily Ever After. From the producers of Ghostbusters and the Cosby Kids comes an animated motion picture masterpiece starring Ed Asner, Dom DeLuise, and Grammy Award winner Irene Cara.
I'm Snow White.
The family entertainment event of the year, Filmation's Happily Ever After.
A pleasure, darling.
Rated G, starts Friday, May 28th at theaters everywhere.
For everything that squeaks or sticks, now there's one lube. With PTFE, the most slippery solid substance known to man. And everyone should like the sound of that. One lube. from Slick 50.
Country crock churn style. The taste reminds me of Mom's butter on the farm. I loved growing up with that sweet butter taste.
Try the sweet, buttery taste of Country Crock churn style with fewer calories and no cholesterol.
38 minutes after, are doctors off the mark when it comes to treating most cases of prostate cancer? Prostate cancer will kill 35,000 American men this year, but now 2 new studies say there is no proof that patients who undergo surgery or radiation will live longer. Researchers suggest that simply monitoring the cancer may offer more benefits. Here to provide a perspective on this is our medical editor, Dr. Tim Johnson, who joins us this morning from WCVB-TV in Boston. Tim, good morning.
Good morning, Joan.
Tell us about, these are 2 different studies. You want to tell us about them?
Quite different. The first one took a look at the growth of radical prostatectomy surgery from 1984 to 1990 and demonstrated that it grew by about 600%. Now, that's not terribly surprising because this is when the surgery was perfected, sort of came into its own. It was also the time when we started emphasizing screening for prostate cancers, so many more were being found. The more disturbing statistic in that report is that there is a tremendous variation from one part of the country to another as to the amount of surgery done. On the West Coast, for example, it's done more than twice as often as on most of the East Coast. And whenever you see that kind of variation, it usually means that there is no hard data, no firm fact on which to base decisions, so it's a matter of belief and opinion as to what to do.
And it wasn't because there were just more cases there, it was strictly a medical decision. Okay.
It was a difference in medical opinion, which usually means we don't know for sure what to do. The second report was very different. It was a mathematical model, if you will, that attempted to predict the benefits versus the risks of treating aggressively early localized prostate cancer at various ages. And to summarize in a somewhat simplistic fashion, it basically says that the older you get, the less likely it is that you will receive benefit from treatment that outweighs the risks. And the risks can be very real. For example, in the case of radical surgery, the 2 major risks that everyone worries about are incontinence, difficulty in controlling urine, and impotence, inability to perform sexually. So I think the message of that study is, as you get older, certainly as you get into the 70s, beyond 75 and into the 80s, it makes very little sense to engage in aggressive therapy because watchful waiting may be just as good.
Well, you're talking about the risk. What are the advantages, though, of the aggressive therapy?
Well, the potential advantage of aggressive therapy is curing the cancer, getting rid of it. And so it makes more sense to consider that possibility in someone who is younger, number one, and in whom the cancer is more aggressive, that is, more likely to spread. The cancers, prostate cancers we find in older men are typically slow growing. The ones we find in younger men are typically faster growing. So a man in his 40s, 50s, early 60s, undoubtedly it makes more sense to try to treat curatively with either radical surgery or radiation therapy. But as I said, when the man gets older, it makes less sense to do so.
Well, we know how important early detection is for women in breast cancer. Is early detection as important here? I would assume it is.
Well, again, it's an interesting issue now. If you're not going to treat, it doesn't make much sense to try to detect or find. So we recommend early detection mostly in younger men. We say we should start at age 50 with yearly detection methods. In the case of prostate cancer, we're talking about a rectal exam and the new blood test called PSA. But again, as a man gets into the 70s and 80s, it makes much less sense to think about early detection because we're probably not going to treat. So early detection is aimed at early people, younger people.
So you have to take it each one case by case.
That's right, and probably that's the most important message, is the importance of individualizing the decision, not automatically thinking that we have to treat.
All right, Tim, thank you very much.
Thank you, Joan.
41 minutes after, long-distance medicine when Good Morning America continues.
First time a sitting president ever had done that.
Tomorrow it's President Clinton's turn. 2 full hours live with an audience.
Our fans of the old TV series MASH know about the isolation that's faced by military doctors in the field. But there is now a new technology that's changing things. The system is called the Remote Clinical Communications System, and it allows doctors in remote areas to send pictures of patients to experts thousands of miles away. The resolution of images is so great that in this picture of a fingerprint, for instance, that we have, that was sent over the system, even the whorls can be seen precisely. Dr. Edward Gomez, who is chief of peripheral vascular surgery at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, designed the system, is joining us this morning from Washington to explain how it works. Dr. Gomez, good to have you with us.
Good morning. How are you?
The system, I gather, has been installed in a hospital in Croatia, I understand, to treat UN peacekeepers in Bosnia. Is that right?
That's correct. Our first deployment was to Somalia,
back in early February of this year, and that was the first transmission. That was very successful, and from there we just deployed it to Zagreb this past week, and we presently have a medical team in Zagreb who are transmitting images and clinical consults from Zagreb.
So doctors in Somalia, now doctors in Zagreb, can consult with Walter Reed doctors about patients that they may have. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. How much equipment, how much hardware is needed in these hospitals?
Not much at all. The way we designed it was for it to be very portable, very lightweight, and so that we could deploy to these very remote sites.
Do you transmit pictures by phone lines or by satellite?
Both. In Mogadishu, for example, we had to depend solely on satellite transmission. In Zagreb, we're able to use both systems, both satellite and telephone lines.
All right, now I gather we've set up, or you have picked out for us, a specific case on which you did consult, and you can show us how the system works.
Okay, the first image that you will see will be a young U.S. soldier who presented with fever in Mogadishu, and the blood smear that you can see the malaria parasite. One of the things that we do not see in the United States is malaria, but when we deploy our soldiers to remote areas of the world, we run into very endemic areas that have, for example, in this particular smear, malaria. This was a very important smear for us because we were able to adjust the medications because there are resistant strains in that part of the world.
So you can consult, and these pictures come in with far greater clarity than you've ever been able to transmit before?
That's correct.
Now, how expensive is this?
Well, we're looking at a total package of around $50,000 to $60,000, but most of that is tied up in the satellite receiver. The equipment itself is not all that expensive. We based the camera, Charles, on a digital camera which allowed us to transmit the information digitally, and on our end be able to manipulate the data to bring out the clarity, or we wanted to look at minute, fine details. We could use the computer to enhance that information.
Dr. Gomez, is it used purely for soldiers, or might it be used on civilian casualties in these war zones as well?
Well, we in Somalia have treated civilian casualties. Zagreb has been very interesting. The role of the Army hospital is to support the UN peacekeeping forces. And the patients that we have received have included French, Nepal, and Belgium soldiers who are working or deployed as the peacekeeping unit in Zagreb.
And I would imagine the applications for domestic use are obvious. It would not be so necessary to transmit or to take patients to big city hospitals. You'd be able to work with remote areas with the same kind of technology in this country.
Exactly. You could really tie the whole United States in a very tight network and take advantage of our great medical centers that are scattered throughout the United States.
All right, Dr. Gomez, appreciate it. Thanks for the interview, and thanks for the demonstration as well. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
It is now 12 minutes before the hour. The ABCs of ATM safety. And Good Morning America continues here on ABC.
Your family's summer vacation, but before you go, don't forget the cash to carry.
10 minutes before 8. You may remember these headlines when high-tech thieves set up a bogus automatic teller machine, an ATM, in a Connecticut shopping mall. It was rigged to record the confidential personal identification or PIN numbers on bank cards from which counterfeit cards were then produced. And even as I speak, the accounts of some of these ATM users are being illegally drained, so far for more than $60,000. Barry Schreiber knows how you can protect yourself from this and other recent ATM scams. He joins us from the campus of St. Cloud State University in Minnesota, where he is a professor of criminal justice. And good morning.
Good morning, Joan.
I think when a lot of us heard that story, we said, how could a scam like that happen? I mean, where do they get the bogus machine? Is it that easy to reproduce these cards? Are they easier to produce than regular credit cards?
It's not an easy thing to do. And everyone in bank security recognizes the sophistication of this particular scheme. There are about 90,000 ATMs deployed across America, and they conduct about 6.6 billion transactions. But there are bound to be occasional problems. This particular scheme involved the necessity of hardware, which included an ATM machine, much like the ones that I'm standing in front of. It was a recent ATM, had a color display screen from what observers tell us. They were bold enough to attempt to organize a business transaction with the owners of the mall for some space for the machine. The deal had not been consummated, but one Saturday, 3 uniformed men wheeled in an ATM, looking much like the ones I'm standing in front of, into a mall near Hartford, Connecticut. Customers, seeing what looked like a genuine ATM, put in their cards, attempted transactions, and in all but a few cases did not get any cash, but in the process the machine copied their account numbers and the PIN numbers. The people who downloaded the information off of the computer, put it on a laptop computer, and fabricated some cards, much like a genuine ATM card. And these have been used in New York and a few other locations.
And there are other scams, too. I think there was one in Brooklyn and one out in Burbank, California, where there were cameras that actually were videotaping as people put in their PIN numbers. Now, how can you protect yourself against something like that?
There's some simple things to do to protect yourself against ATM fraud. One of those is, as you've noted, not to let other people spy your PIN number when you're putting it in on the ATM keyboard. It's not rude, it's not impolite to stand in front of the keyboard squarely and to block the easy view of other people. In Burbank, there were men using a video camera across the street from the ATM that had a telephoto lens. They were capturing the PIN numbers on their video cam, which had the date and time stamp on it. Then they would go across the street, retrieve discarded receipts, which had the account numbers on them, and match the PIN numbers to the account numbers.
Yeah, because that was my next question. You always get those little receipts afterwards,
Yes.
and how vulnerable do those make you?
Well, most account numbers that are on the printed receipts are coded, but in some cases, as in this case in Burbank, the account numbers were not coded, and therefore the bad guys, if you will, were able to match the account number on the discarded receipts with the PIN number that they had spied using the video camera. So the obvious suggestion is a couple things. First of all, block the view of others who might easily, even from a distance, see the ATM PIN pad when you're putting your 4-digit code in. And second of all, hang on to that receipt. Put it in your wallet or purse. Discard it at home when you get it home.
Generally speaking, those are the two things that can get you into trouble.
Probably those can get you into trouble, but those are pretty esoteric, fairly high-tech methods of fraud. The most common problems with fraud are from a couple things. First of all, there's a so-called signature stripe on the back of the ATM card. Some people find it very convenient with all the numbers and names that we have to recall these days to put their ATM PIN number on the signature stripe. That essentially is giving anyone who happens to steal or come across your lost ATM card carte blanche into your account. So never write your PIN number on the ATM card on the flip side.
All right. I got to jump out here. I also want to add, though, lest we shake everybody up and shake their confidence, we should every banking consumer who has lost an ATM card or who has had one stolen, most banks will hold you responsible for only the first $50 taken from your account. And we thank Barry Schreiber.
Thank you,
We'll
Tim.
be back in just a moment.